when talking about Arabs.
Listen, while you're here, I highly recommend a visit to the Empire State Building before you or one of your sand monkey cousins takes it down.
Christ. Okay. Wait, what is this? I just wanted to quote tweet the First Amendment at this guy. So I was looking for an image of it. What does this mean? Here's your guide to the First Amendment circa 2018. The First Amendment. Noun. What? Okay.
Is it just like an Urban Dictionary thing?
Well, I just don't know what. I just don't understand why you would put noun here. I don't know. Don't care. Did you see this thing? The Spy, starring Sacha Baron Cohen. No, I didn't. Is it a good movie?
Do you consider yourself a patriot?
This is old? Is that what the 6 years ago means, dude?
I love this country with all my might. Welcome to Syria.
If your country needed you to lie to your friends, your family, your wife, would you do it?
I will be a buyer.
This guy's life was... Oh, wait, is this a real... Oh, I thought this was going to be a meme thing. This is a real thing?
Working for the government. If your country asked you to risk your life, would you do it?
This is the opportunity for me to give you the life that I promised you, Daddy.
My name.
Not a comedy. It was a serious role.
My name is Kamel Amin Thabit.
The Sheikh is your only way in. Please join me.
You've made a nice life for yourself here in Damascus.
When you walk into a room, everyone wants a piece of you.
Come in. Enjoy.
You can trust me with your life. I hope I can do the same. We all have secrets.
This is not a game, Kamil. You are either him or you are dead.
Nadia, I'm worried about you. When's the last time you saw Ellie? 11 months ago. Don't leave us.
I don't want to go back.
You are saving lives, Ellie.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Wait.
Remember.
Why? I don't know why we're watching this trailer. It's based on Eli Cohen. Is he the guy who turned into Eli Copter and crashed and blew up the Iranian people?
Boo.
What explains the sudden 2002-esque anti-Muslim rhetoric? In America, I honestly have no fucking idea. I don't know how we got back to here. They just tried hopping from group to group. We did Venezuelans and Haitians and... Fuck, I don't know if I'm ready
You
for
can't
this.
hate a brown person anymore? I mean, come on, brother.
True.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for being here.
David, good to be with you.
We've heard...
Hi, what do you want? You got literally 5 seconds. I'm about to do another talk.
Oh, no. Okay, wait. Is it scheduled or...
Or no, but what's up?
So I sent you a DM.
Okay.
It's the box thing. It's just, I just don't understand the 2 boxes. I feel like it always leads to
It is
an
bad.
inevitable
2 boxes are 50 IQ
bad
people.
outcome.
Don't try to understand it. It doesn't make any sense. You don't need to.
No, I just feel like there's no way. Like,
I know,
if you
they're crazy
cooperate,
people.
like the 1 box is like the cooperation where it's self-correcting. But if you just do the 2 boxes, it's like the opposite. You're ruining it for everyone.
But if I do 2 boxes,
Wait,
I have
how
2
could
boxes.
you ruin it for everyone?
No, because then it's going to predict that you're picking 2 boxes in the future for the next person in line, right?
No,
And
it's
so
got
you
it's predicting based on your brain, not just on I think trends or whatever, right?
Well, those would be based on statistics on previous people, right?
No, it's just reading your brain pattern and then knowing what you're gonna solve, not just like generalizing. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then I guess it would be different. But then I would just hope that people would get that most people would hopefully be smart enough to do the right choice here, but maybe most people are not.
I don't think it
I
should
don't
matter.
want
Even
that
if
'cause of
99% of
inflation.
people make a dumb choice, it still should predict your choice accurately. from how I understood the thing.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to send that. You should show it on stream because people didn't see it. Or actually, maybe I'll just link it.
No, sure. I'll go ahead and shill your random pictures. 100%, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell me if there's anything else I need to, I have to show on stream.
I'm glad
gonna,
you're.
Yeah, there you go.
You're gonna do that. Okay.
There you go.
Great.
Now everybody
Bye-bye.
understands. All right. Be careful. Bye. Okay. Apparently Taylor is not happy with how I characterized her conversation with Pisco, so I'm going to chat with her for a little bit. Good luck. I'll be back, okay?
Bye.
I love you.
I'll be here.
Oh, give me a second. Hold on one sec.
Hi. Hey there. Why can't I see you? Is that, I don't know how Discord works. Is that, I don't see you? Okay, yay. Hi.
How you doing? What's up? How's it going?
I was laughing so hard because somebody put in my group chat, who's this Qatari person that you're accepting money from? And I was like, Qatari person, what are you talking about? And I got a link to your stream saying that I'm funded by some Qatari person, which is very silly and not true. So anyway, I
Do
would
you
love to hop
oh
on.
wait, hold on, wait, just check it real quick. Are you not a recipient of money from the I want to call it the Amygdala Fund, but I know that's not what it's called. There's a guy who, do you know what I'm referring to, or are you gonna?
Are you talking about the Omidyar?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Okay, so Pierre Omidyar is not Qatari as far as I'm aware of, but he is a billionaire that has his own political action dark money group that I'm not affiliated with and have never accepted money from. And then he also funds The Intercept. He very famously funded The Intercept, funded Honolulu Civil, but he funds a bunch of journalistic institutions, and he funds a nonprofit, nonpartisan, non-political reporting fellowship that I did last year.
Yeah,
But
that
that's
thing that
certainly-
you're referring to, that would be dark money.
No, it's not dark money. I know exactly who funded it. It's not a 501c4, whatever it's
Are you
structured
sure
as
it's
an
not?
LLC.
Are you
Yes,
sure?
I know. They had to issue a statement. They literally had to issue a statement about this because people were going online and making these ridiculous claims. Destiny, I freelance from the mainstream media. I just wrote a big piece for Vanity Fair and The Guardian last week. I can't write for those organizations if I was accepting dark money.
Well, first
There's
of
no
all, yes,
way.
you can. Of course you can. You don't have to declare
No,
every
certainly
single
not as a
income source
journalist.
or any. Of course you can. Yeah, of course you can. You don't have to declare every
No.
single source of income and every single thing in your
cannot-
life.
Trust me when I say you cannot be accepting political dark money and working as a mainstream media journalist. You cannot. You could write, sure, you could write an opinion column maybe, but certainly you cannot do reporting. You cannot. That would be against the ethics policy of any mainstream media place that I've ever worked for, and a bunch of digital media places that I've worked for. You cannot do that.
Okay, I don't believe that's true. But so
It is, of
the money
course
that
it's
you've
true. Why would
gotten.
they allow- First
The
of all,
money that
of
you've got, well, the
course
money
it's
you've
true.
gotten,
What
the
are
money
you
that you've
talking
gotten comes
about?
through something called the Amygdala Network, correct?
No. It's a separate, it's a fund that is it's specifically just a journalistic fund that is for journalistic reporting. So it's not dark money. It's not a dark money arc. A dark money arc, all the money from who knows where goes into a big pot, right? And then it's distributed and you don't know your funders.
Yeah, so like the money goes into something called the Amygdala Network. The Amygdala Network
No.
launched a program called the Reporters in Residence Program, which is what
No.
paid you out, right?
No.
So you weren't part of the Reporters in Residence Program.
The reporter, Destiny, they issued a whole press release. If you want to go and you're confused about this, they issued a whole press release explaining this. You can just go, I'll try to find the link and send it to you so it's a little bit clearer for it. But it's not dark money. I have to know who funds me. That is for myself as a journalist. So it's not a dark money fund. I know that Pierre Omidyar, a billionaire, funded this journalist fellowship.
What was
Sure.
the name of the, I mean, I can just look it up right now. So what was the name then of the thing that funded you? What was the name of the thing that published the...
Pierre Omidyar. Pierre Omidyar funds it directly. Pierre Omidyar. It's in it through an LLC.
Wait, if you just said it's through an LLC, then that means it's not directly funded by him. The LLC
it
is what's
is.
cutting you the money.
I'm sorry that you're confused by this. Let's
Taylor,
walk
I'm so sorry. Listen, I was nice to you in the past. These little strategies don't work on me, okay? I'm not confused
here. It's not a strategy, Destiny. They issued. Why don't you open up? Oh my God.
Taylor, just to be clear, right? This is very easy. That LLC that pays you, do they publicly publish all of the recipients of income to that LLC? Are those revenue statements publicly available?
Yes, they publicly issued a statement because there was so much
Taylor,
confusion.
you're not answering the question I just asked. So I'm going to ask the same question again. Does that organization, that LLC, do they publish their tax returns, all their Schedule C's, all their schedule, everything else? You can see all of the income sources to that LLC. The answer is no, Taylor. Of course they don't. So which means definitionally.
Oh my God, yes they do. Literally, Destiny, go on the website and look at the press. Can you pull up the press release, please, that they issued that explains this to you?
Sure. What's it called? What am I looking for?
Let's find the link. Hold on a second. Let's see, because they had to issue a whole statement explaining this because people like you were very confused, which I understand.
You keep saying confused, but you're being slippery, very slippery.
I'm not being slippery. They issued a statement. I couldn't, trust me, I could not write for mainstream media if I was taking dark money. I cannot do that. That is against the journalistic ethics code that you sign as a freelancer at every mainstream media outlet. Let's find their public statement. Hold on, let me see if I can. I think I tweeted it at the time.
It's not the omidyar.com where we focus reporters and residents program. It's not that.
Let me find it. Hold on. Here we go. Where is it?
I can link on Discord. You can tell me if this is what it is or not. But
oh, here we go. Omidyar receives no funding via the 1634 or any other outside sources.
Wait, I don't know what you're reading. Wait, link me what you're reading.
Okay, so here we go. They make it very clear and say on the record, they do not receive funding from
I don't know what you're reading. I'm waiting for you to link me what you're reading.
I sent you the link.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, here, you can read the last paragraph.
Okay.
Omidyar Network receives no funding for the Reporters in Residence program via the 1630 fund or any other outside sources. That's really important, Destiny, because I could not work as a freelance journalist if I accepted dark money. I couldn't. I would be fired. If a journalist did that, that would be a scandal. We are not allowed to do that. Cut and dry. That's not to say that political influencers aren't allowed to. Political influencers, commentators, you're right. You could write for the opinion pages of certain outlets for sure, if you accept these, sorts of deals. But I am not. I am a working journalist. I cannot accept those deals. And this is not, the Reporters in Residence program is not a political, we have people with all over the political spectrum that are part of that program. I'm not a Democrat. I'm in that program, right?
Okay.
So I think there's
Can you explain to me, how do you think the hybrid funding mechanisms work?
There's no hybrid funding mechanism. The money is directly from Pierre Omidyar. Pierre Omidyar funds this reporting residence. It is a fellowship. He funds a lot in journalism. I am allowed to take part in the fellowship, again, through these journalistic ethics codes. Now, if it was a dark money fund, if it was the 1630 fund doing a journalistic fellowship, I couldn't take part in that because I don't know who's funding it.
Okay, so the reason why the Omidyar Network says that they don't receive outside funding is because it's one of these dual-structured hybrid dark money funds. They themselves don't get money from an outside fund. All of it comes from the hybrid entity, the LLC half, which doesn't report where all of its money comes from.
It does report. It comes from Pierre Omidyar. It's not.
His fund. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yes,
It is his fund, but it's not just him funding it. Our programmatic work is supported entirely via our foundation and LLC. That foundation and LLC. Money can come from anywhere for that.
Show me one piece of evidence that any money for the Reporting and Residence Fund did not come from Pierre Omidyar. It comes directly from Pierre Omidyar. He funds it.
Do you understand? You know that a person and an LLC are two different things, right?
Yes, but he funds the program.
Okay,
he funds the program and
it's
talks
okay. It's
about
okay.
funding
I
the
know
program.
that the Occupy Wall Street people, corporation people, you seem to be confused on this, okay? An LLC is not a person, right? So when you say he's funding it directly, That's not true. Even if what you were saying was true, you could say
Who
he's the
else do
sole
you think
funder
funds the
through an
program?
LLC. You don't know who funds it because it's a dark money fund. That's the whole thing.
No, we
You have
don't.
no idea who
I
puts money
do
in the
know.
LLC.
Destiny, I promise you, I do know who funds it. Piero Midyar funds it directly. We know that. He brags about it. It's a whole thing. That's the reason why he does this program. I don't know what to tell you. I couldn't freelance. Do you think all of these journalists, all of these mainstream journalists that work at major mainstream outlets, do you think that they would be allowed to sign the ethics policies that we sign if we were part of a dark money org? No, we're not.
None of you. I don't think there is a policy that says you could have never accepted money from any other type of super PAC or hybrid 501c
Yes,
or 401c.
Oh my God, absolutely. You cannot work as a journalist and take super PAC money or dark money from political orgs. You absolutely cannot do that. You would never, ever be able to do that. That would be very unethical, and it would be against any journalistic code of ethics that you could possibly agree to. That is like basic 101 journalism. Come on. That would be crazy if a journalist did that, because then they could be getting secretly paid by people with political agendas.
But you can always be getting paid by people with political agendas.
No, you can't. Not through a PAC or a dark money group and be a working journalist.
I could just pay you. If I were to give you $20,000, how would the New York Times know?
You can't accept. I guess technically you could lie, but you would be fired and it would be a big news story. That's crazy. You couldn't. You're not even allowed to accept gifts over $50 if you're a journalist.
Yeah, but who would? I'm just saying that the idea that this is like an impossible thing or whatever. And this focus on like quote unquote dark money, like no one would have any idea. Like I'm sure that they ask you for a political.
Yes.
They can't. There's no way unless they have your tax returns. Nobody can know who you're getting paid from unless they have a copy of your tax returns.
Sure, you could go steal something from a store and nobody would know. That doesn't mean that it's not a crime. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, hold on. Ethics agreements are not going to be the same thing as like a crime if you violate an ethics agreement for something that you signed for a journalistic thing.
You would not work in journalism. You would not work in journalism. And let me tell you, if you were accepting secret money, trust me, that is so unethical that it would be a major news story. Now, have people... Could you do it and lie about it and get away with it? I have no idea. Honestly, I think that somebody would find out because that would be such a major news story. If a big time journalist did something like that, it would be such a gross violation of journalistic ethics. I cannot imagine. I mean,
people write op-eds. I don't understand what you're saying. Like,
an op-ed is not the same as a report. So op-eds are not written by reporters, right? Op-eds are something different. That's an opinion piece. So a senator can write an op-ed, right?
Sure.
If you're a news reporter, you are bound by journalistic ethics.
Okay, can you sort through this? Can you help me understand this? Okay, so like on page 11 here, we can look at the Omidyar Network Fund, and we can see that there is money that they get donated to them from like private equity and other sorts of people. We don't know who these are. This is a statement
for the political fund that's not related to the Reporters in Residence program, which is solely funded by Pierre Omidyar.
No, it's solely funded by the LLC that has a network fund that receives dark money. That's how these entities work. I can break it down. We could go through a whole thing and break it out if you want. Like
Destiny, I'm sorry that you feel this way. I don't know what to tell you. If you think that there's a secret scheme,
it's not secret. It's all public. It's all known.
Again, that's funny that you bring it up. It is public and known. Unlike these dark money programs, which are not public, which are inherently...
They are also publicly known. They say we have this entity, it raises money. We don't have to report everybody that donates to it, but we report who we donate to.
They're doing political... The reason my story was a story is because it was not publicly known. They were not publicly disclosing, right?
Wait, what wasn't publicly... What do you mean?
The 1630 fund engaging in these influencer schemes, that was something that was not publicly known. That's why
the 1630 fund donating money or giving money to Chorus should be in their filings.
It was not publicly known. That's why
it should be in their filings.
Well, surprise, surprise, it was never known. It was never revealed.
I understand. And again, I know you do this with other people. You keep saying it wasn't known, as in it wasn't part of the mainstream zeitgeist, but you're not responding to my question. You're very good at these conversations. You're very tricky. You're very tricky. Find me one example. It's showing up in the media? No. But you're alleging. Do you acknowledge that what you're alleging would be like an FEC violation, right? If these entities were giving large sums of money to people and it wasn't showing up on any of their filings, that this would be illegal.
First of all, it's not an FEC violation because there's no FEC ruling that says that you have to disclose your influencer sort of efforts or whatever, right?
Influencer
That's
efforts. No. For these hybrid entities, the ones that do this, the pairing of I haven't read about these in a while. It was like the C3, C4 pairings or whatever, these hybrid entities. You don't have to report where the money is coming from, but you do have to report where the money goes to. So my understanding is I would have to go back and look at all this because the tax structure is relatively complicated. If I do, it would be for my edification because you don't understand how these things work. But the C3 or the C4, whatever, will receive money and then they don't have to report where the money's coming from, but they can dump a lot of that money into a C3 that does have to report where it's coming from. So like Chorus will say like we're getting money from the 1630 fund, and then they'll say that we're paying it out to certain creators or whatever, depending on the type of entity that they're structured under. But
so show me where any of that happened prior to my story.
Well, I want to see I want you to link me where the reporters in residence, the LLC that they're getting the money from.
Wait, sorry, Destiny. Whoa, you just changed this topic.
Well, no, this is how you change. No, you change us from this and you change to this. So I'm asking you, can you show me what? Show me where? No, you acknowledge the conversation started with the Omidyar thing, right? Yeah, that's what the conversation started.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Before you derail,
I'm not derailing. I'm re-railing.
On what you said. I want to close the loop on what you said. You said that there was disclosure about this funding program before my article. Show me where that was.
I would have to go and look up the web archives of the page to see so I don't have this information offhand.
You don't have it because it doesn't exist.
Well, I don't have it offhand because I wasn't ready for that conversation. I have to go get the links through this.
All right.
I can find it for you if you want, though.
I very much would love for you to find that. And I think that when you go to find it, you will find it doesn't exist because prior to my article, none of this was public. And that is the whole problem, I would argue, with these funding systems, is that unless a journalist gets a hold of it, they're not inherently public or they're not inherently disclosed to the followers of these influencers while they're creating this content. And that's a problem. I'm a journalist. I disclose where I get my money. Now, you seem to have some issue with the Omidyar's reporting in residence program. I can promise you that it is not a grand conspiracy that myself and all of these other journalists have taken part in this program and that it's somehow, I don't know, you're sort of conflating it with the 1630 fund. It's nothing like that. Not to mention,
it's exactly like that. It is.
It's not like, not to mention, well, I'll say the second part. Destiny, an investigative journalism fellowship is nothing like a secret political influencer program at all.
What was secret? Wait, what part is secret?
It was never public. The funding program with Chorus was never public. It was never public. It was never disclosed. None of these influencers disclosed it. That's the whole problem.
Hold on, wait. You're making different statements. Whether or not an influencer disclosed whether or not they were part of Chorus is a fundamentally different claim than whether or not the Chorus reports where their money comes from, or if the 1630 fund reports.
Chorus never disclosed that they ran a secretive funding program for influencers. That was never public. That's why my story was a story, because it was never public.
All the money that flows out from the 1630 fund has to be part of public filings. Yes.
It was not public.
Wait. Can you say yes or no to that? Are you able to answer that question? All the money that flows out for like political or activist or whatever stuff, any kind of like thing like that from the 1630 fund, all of that has to be on a public tax filing.
I have no idea, but regardless,
wait, how can you have Taylor? If you're reporting on this, how can you have no idea if the statement I just said is true or not?
Show me where it was public. Show me where it was public before I publish my story. Show me where it was public.
Okay, so here's a Form 990. This is 117 pages long. This is of the 1630 fund. This is for 2024. I would have to, I guess, go find the 2025 one. But this here should have every single thing listed in terms of where their money.
Show me where it's disclosed.
I don't even know. I don't know what the entity is registered under. I can find this information for you, but it's going to take me some time. I don't have this right on my fingertips.
If you're gonna say this argument that this was all public and that it was disclosed, where was it disclosed?
Are you okay? So then let me understand. You're saying that they hid this, that it was not disclosed on legally required forms.
No. If you read my article,
do you see how tricky you're being? I can see how tricky you're being. I know a lot of people can't see how tricky you are sometimes, but like you're not answering that question.
That's me. I'm answering your question, but I don't know.
My question very specifically was it's two questions, and then you can answer both of these. One is, would it be legally required for the 1630 fund to disclose that money was flowing out to an entity like this? Number one. And number two, are you saying that they did not disclose that against the law?
Neither of those things were in my article. Neither.
Can you answer either of those questions or no? Can you not? You're really not going to?
actually, if you want to make those claims, I think you should be the one to back it up.
I'm not the journalist. I'm just a lowly influencer. The 1630 Fund paid me $900 million this year to press you on this.
You're out here making claims, so back them up.
I did.
So
you can go back. I did a
was...
research show about this like 6 months ago when the article came out. You go look at the VOD if you want, or I can find this information again. We can have a talk in a few days if you want.
Don't, in the VOD, you don't ever show proof ever.
In the one where we went over this like 5 or 6 months ago?
You do not show proof that there was disclosure prior to my article. You do not show that.
The Form 990s are public.
Show me where it was disclosed. Show me where it was disclosed prior to my article that there was this political influencer program that they were funding, that they were funding influencers. Show me where that was disclosed.
Okay, I will add this to my
and show me where and show me and also Destiny
Core
while you're at
1630 Fund Form 990 disclosure before Taylor article. I will look this up for you today.
And also, will you do me a favor as well? Show me the list of influencers that received the funding. Can you show me that as well? Because you're arguing
if Chorus
again.
has to disclose that part. I don't know if the Chorus entity.
Disclose. Oh, well, since you're so
why are you saying
on
it? We're talking about multiple entities here. I don't know if you don't know how these are working in conjunction with each other, or if you just rely on like the tricky language in order to not actually have to answer any questions related to any of this stuff.
All of these ridiculous attacks, and I'm just asking you to back up your claims. If you claim that it was all public, show me where it was public.
You're playing games again. I never claimed it was all public. I claimed that these should show up on public filings. Now,
show me where they showed up.
Okay, I'll look it up for you. I will look it up for you. I'll find the forums. I'll throw them at you. I'll have you. I'm sure you'll wiggle out of it another way. So back to the Omidyar thing. Back to the Omidyar thing. The thing that we started talking about. The Omidyar Taylor for the Omidyar thing. The LLC that funds it solely. What is this LLC? Can you give me information about this LLC? How do you know that it only receives money from Pierre?
Because again, this is a investigative reporting fellowship.
You're not answering the question. How do you know that LLC only receives money? I don't know. I'm not asking you what it is. I'm asking how do you know it only receives money from Pierre?
You're interrupting me. Are you ready to listen, or are you going to continue to interrupt?
If you can answer the question, I'm ready to listen.
Yes, I would not be able to participate.
You're not answering the question again.
I am telling you the answer to the question, and I'm sorry that it doesn't.
We already agreed that you could just lie about your source of income and nobody would know. So
no,
that doesn't...
you couldn't. No, you can't. You can't do that. I mean, certainly I, of all people, could not do that. I am a very high-profile journalist. To argue that journalists such as myself, which are under enormous scrutiny, are all secretly taking PAC and dark money, which I just want to emphasize to you, Destiny, please, you continue to conflate a political influence program with a nonpartisan.
All you're doing is you're continuing to squirm away from the point.
I could say the same thing about you. Can you actually stop making these ridiculous comments about you're tricky, you're squirming away, and can you actually engage with what I'm saying? A nonpartisan journalistic investigative journalism program is nothing like a paid political influence scheme. They're not even remotely similar. That is what I was reporting on.
How do you know that is your claim that LLC is solely funded by Pierre?
That is what we are. That is how we are able to take part in this program. Do you think
are you telling me that the LLC is solely funded by Pierre?
I would imagine yes, because that's how we're able to take part in the program.
So the fact that you would say "I would imagine" seems to necessitate you using your imagination, and the reason why you have to use the imagination is because it's dark, because you don't know. Which is fine. I don't even think it's that big of a deal. I'm sure the Omidyar Network and everybody, they state their goals and everything, which is why it's not a huge deal. Same thing with the 1630 Fund and the same thing with Chorus.
To answer your question, yes, it is funded by Pierre Omidyar. Yes, that is what we are told when we are starting.
I didn't ask if it was funded by Pierre Omidyar. I said it was the sole funder, Pierre Omidyar. Is the LLC that it gets money from, the only person that puts money in the LLC is Pierre Omidyar.
Or perhaps maybe he puts it in through something else. But yes, it's Pierre Omidyar's money. Yes. It is Pierre Omidyar's money.
It's a dark money fund. The reason why you can't answer the question, it is. It is.
It is not. It is not. I don't know what to tell you other than I could not participate in doing journalism if I was. And do you think all of the other journalists, putting me aside, there's major journalists, right, that take part in this investigative, nonpartisan reporting fellowship. But I believe you that you think all of this is some big collusion. Regardless, Destiny, why don't you engage with the fact that a nonpartisan Non-political investigative reporting fellowship is nothing like a secret political influence campaign that is aimed at fixing Democrats' messaging problem.
So just as a quick thing, okay, I just want to say, because I have to call these out because I know not because you're very tricky and you're very good. So you're arguing. No, I am going to call it. You're arguing that you're not receiving a dark money thing. You're arguing that you're not receiving a dark money thing, but then you're saying that what you do is a lot different than what Chorus does, which I agree. You are correct. No, you are correct. Chorus and what you do are different, and they're different, which is why the reporting requirements are different. But you both receive dark money. But I think that they should have a higher honest report. But I believe they were doing their legally required reporting. I don't think they were doing like concealing anything that needed to be legally required.
They did not disclose it. Not what. Again, show me one influencer that disclosed that they were part of this dark money political scheme. Show me one influencer.
I don't think the influencers were part of a dark money political scheme. The influencer was getting money from Chorus, right?
The Chorus is described as a project of the 1630 fund.
But it's a separate entity. Chorus was solely funded by the 1630 fund, right? I believe, right?
Chorus is described in documents.
You can't answer the questions. It's so annoying. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, you know what? If you're going to keep making these aside comments and say these things, we're not going to be able to have a conversation.
But I can't just let you lie to my audience. You understand that, right? That I do have some amount of integrity, and I'm not just going to let you lie to my audience. The reason why you answer in a sneaky way is because you know that you can't contend with the question that I gave you.
You're not actually engaging with anything I'm saying.
You're not engaging with my questions. I'm asking you, Chorus was solely funded by the 1630 fund, that you know where the Chorus money is coming from, and it's going to an influencer program.
You just yell like this over people, and then your audience thinks that you know what you're talking about because you say you're sneaky, and you interrupt.
Taylor, you did a whole reporting thing on these hybrid entities. You know what a Form 990 is, and you're claiming that I don't know what I'm talking about. Stop.
I'm saying that
Taylor.
You continue to interrupt.
Because you're not answering my question. I'm not talking to you condescendingly. I'm treating you like an adult when I ask you an actual question. You're not giving me the actual answer. You're just speaking around it.
Like you're just being really sneaky. You're not giving me the actual answer. You're talking around it. You're being very tricky.
I said multiple times, if you want, I can go back and I can re-research the Chorus and the 1630 fund. Yeah, but your article, you've misquoted your article over and over again, though. You do trickily cite your article. We can go back through your article if you want. You still haven't published any of those public contracts, right? You made strong claims about the fact that people weren't allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus. That was never substantiated. Those are only according to the secret.
What do you mean? Show me one example of an influencer that disclosed.
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as them not being allowed to disclose, right?
Do you think that the 7 influencers who spoke? Do you think that they spoke because and made those claims saying we aren't allowed to disclose, and that the part that we cite in the contract that says that they're not allowed to disclose?
So that small part that you cite is not necessarily saying that. Number one. Number two, I don't know who those 7 influencers were. Were you public about their identities? And then number 3, we did read it. We read it tons of times. If you can publish that part, if you can publish that clause, why can't you publish the whole thing?
Because it would be identifying. But I would ask the same thing of the course creators. I would have to say, we can't publish direct source material.
You just did. That's coming from a direct source. That's from the contract, is it not?
We're not going to publish the full contracts that are watermarked. I'm sorry, we're not going to do it. But again, the course
what
creators...
What are you talking about? Just retype it into Adobe. What do you mean? You can copy-paste the thing. What do you mean you can't republish it because it's watermarked?
I'm telling you, we don't publish our source material, but we quote from the contract.
You're quoting the source material. You published it. It's literally, I remember reading the article. Do you remember the...
So show me
the evidence that you published the source material?
No, show me evidence from any of these creators. If it's false,
Taylor, that's not how journalism works. I don't disprove your story. You have to provide proof for your story. It's assumed false until you have proof for it.
We cite the contract.
You literally don't publish the contract. You cite 3 sentences or whatever from it.
This is not Twitch. You understand that, right? If this was wrong, they could go to Condé Nast lawyers and get a correction. They could go to the editors and get a correction. If any of that was wrong, they could go and get a correction.
There could be a variety of reasons why they don't want to fight you in the story, but regardless, my standard for good reporting, my standard for good reporting is not did the other side come out and file a correction or whatever. I'm just reading the article and seeing if the claims in the article are substantiated. Most of yours are not.
They are substantiated by quoting directly from the contract, which not a single one of them has disproved. Not a single one. And by the way, even Chorus doesn't dispute that.
I'm pretty sure multiple people did dispute it. I think Brian himself came out and disputed it and said that we didn't forbid anybody from saying that they were part of Chorus or whatever.
No, exactly. And that's very tricky, right? They could say that they were part of Chorus, which has always been public, but what they were never, which they never disclosed and they weren't allowed to disclose, is that they were part of this secret funding
But they're not part of 1630. They're part of Chorus. They're not getting paid by
Chorus's secret funding scheme.
No, they're not. They're part of Chorus. Whether Chorus wants to make that announcement or not, you don't have to go back and trace every single line of income that you receive in order for it to. Also, you completely change. You're confused, Taylor. You just completely changed your argument, which I'm glad you've now conceded. They could disclose that they were part of Chorus, but that doesn't mean they have to disclose all of Chorus's funding mechanisms.
Because not everyone who's involved in Chorus is involved in the funding scheme. Chorus is a separate big thing.
Correct.
And not everyone that's involved in the funding scheme. The point is that this secret funding scheme was not disclosed, and these creators every day are attending messaging sessions and getting out there and giving Democrat, talking, whatever, covering the news, and they're not disclosing that they are part of a secret funding scheme aimed at pushing Democratic messaging. That is a huge problem with our media ecosystem. They should disclose that they are receiving money and participating in a secret funding scheme that is aimed at pushing Democrat messaging.
Were the influencers themselves, were they getting paid by Chorus or were they getting paid by 1630? Who was signing the paychecks?
1630.
The paychecks were signed. So is Chorus a separate entity from the 1630 fund, or?
Chorus is described as a project of the 1630 fund.
I don't know what that means. What is the business structure relationship?
You can ask Chorus.
No, I'm asking you. You're the one that wrote the article on it.
And we described it the way that they describe it. They describe themselves, it is described in the documents as they describe themselves as a project of the 1630 fund. That's how it was described.
Okay.
And that's what we're quoting.
If it is the fact that the 1630 fund was cutting paychecks to some of these influencers, isn't that legally required to show up on a Form 990? Don't they have to publish that publicly where that money flows out to?
You tell me.
Yes.
I don't know.
Shouldn't you know? If this is your beat, if this is your reporting on, shouldn't you know the answer to this? Isn't this kind of an important part of...
I think that they should. I think that at the time, I know that at the time of my story, none of that funding structure was disclosed. None of the content that was being produced using money from this funding program was not disclosed. The fact that these influencers who are out calling themselves journalists were taking part in daily messaging sessions and receiving thousands of dollars from this group, and they're going out and they're producing news that people think is 100% independent, they never disclosed that they were part of this funding scheme or that they were part of this political influence scheme. They never disclosed that. And that's a problem, I would argue, for our broader media ecosystem.
If it is legally required for them to report this and they're not, are you accusing the 1630 fund of committing crimes?
I would imagine that they know what is required to disclose and what is required to not disclose. But as you know very well, these groups are very good at sort of navigating disclosures. And as you know,
the Omidyar network is, right? Like the fact that your residents and reporter program can say it's open, but it's receiving money from the hybrid dark money part.
No, because I'm not part of because I'm not part of any political influence scheme.
I agree with you there, but it is dark money.
A nonpartisan investigative journalism fellowship funded directly by one person is nothing like a political influence scheme.
I agree.
Where these influencers don't even...
That has nothing to do with what I just said, though, but I agree with what you're saying there.
It is. But anyway, regardless, Destiny, the point is that none of this was made public to viewers, to consumers. And I would argue that that's a problem. And creators in the program wanted to disclose and were told that they could not disclose per the contract. We quote the contract. I know that you think, again, this is Twitch receipts culture or whatever, but the Wired is a very legitimate journalistic outlet that frankly has no loyalty to me. I'm just a freelancer. If there was anything that these entities had, and don't act like Chorus didn't fight that article, okay? If they had anything to disprove those claims, if any of those creators had contracts that were not accurately represented, they could absolutely disprove that privately. Even if they don't want to publicly disprove it, they could disprove it privately to the Condé Nast lawyers who went out and sought that information from people online that were making those claims. But they don't have it because what we reported was correct and true, which is that it was not disclosed. It was not publicly disclosed. And these influencers themselves did not make any disclosures that they were part of this paid influence program while they were identifying themselves as journalists.
That's great and all. Do you acknowledge that at least this is the same thing as your funding through the Omidyar network?
No, it's nothing like it because I'm not a political influencer. I'm a journalist.
I understand that. I understand that you're not, but so you can say, yes, the funding mechanism is the same, but I don't have the same requirements to be transparent about that because I'm not a partisan influencer. They weren't paid by an
LLC. They're getting paid. They're not paid by some LLC that is solely funded by a billionaire. They are paid by a dark money. You don't have any proof.
First of all, the Media Network, that fund is literally a fund that solicits public donations. You're not solely funded by Pierre. I don't know why you keep repeating that.
I'm telling you, we're talking about a nonpartisan.
Yes, you keep saying that it's different.
Journalism fellowship, because to conflate a nonpartisan journalism fellowship with the political influence program is frankly exactly the whole problem with our entire media ecosystem. The fact that somebody cannot comprehend that journalists are held to very strict different standards than political influencers is a problem. And I think that the fact that you are not sort of making that distinction,
I literally have made it over and over again, but you're making this distinction now. Originally, when you came in here, you were upset that I said that by your dark money standards, you get paid via dark money. Initially, you wanted to refute that claim, and now you're saying, well, my funding mechanism standards should be different than partisan people, which I agree with. I agree with you.
By dark money. I don't know what to tell you.
You do.
I don't. I don't. First of all, that fellowship was only a couple of months last year.
Sure, so there's a couple months of dark money, sure, which I think is longer than
Chorus. It was never dark money.
It is.
Trust me, you think all of these journalists, all 50 journalists that have been able to participate in this program, and we have to sign, again, ethics clauses saying that we are not accepting dark money, we're not accepting PAC money.
Well, you said it was only for a few months, so did you write any articles for any mainstream publications while you were being funded by the Media Network Dark Money Fund?
It was not a dark money fund, and I literally wrote this story for Wired. Literally. So you believe that somehow there's a major conspiracy where Condé Nast
I didn't say anything about a major conspiracy. I just think you can probably, as long as you disclose your funding source.
I wrote this exact story for Wired. If you believe that all of Condé Nast, it's just ridiculous. I would have had to, if I was accepting dark money, when I wrote this story, I would have had to disclose it. I am not accepting dark money. I have never accepted dark money.
You probably did disclose it. You probably told Wired, these are the people
I've
done
it
work
would have
for.
to be, it would have to be publicly disclosed.
Publicly? Wait. If I...
Yes, it would have to be a disclaimer. You don't understand how disclosure works? If you have a conflict of interest...
Correct. Conflict of interest. What is the conflict of interest between the Omidyar network and the Chorus or 1630 fund or whatever?
There is none, but
then exactly, so that you wouldn't be required to disclose. I do know how disclosure works. Disclosure is only relevant when there's a conflict of interest, and I don't know if journalists would even disclose that or just wouldn't be accepted for the project.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You can keep saying that, but you don't even know what a Form 990 is, and you're reporting on these hybrid PAC entities, which is insane.
I certainly do. We're just making up that I don't know things. I want to go back to this claim. You believe that this is so silly. So you believe that a journalist reporting on a traditional media outlet, a mainstream, very traditionalist one, would not make that journalist put a disclosure up top that they were receiving dark money. That's ridiculous. The idea that a journalist could receive dark money while reporting on a dark money political scheme and not openly disclose it, no editor would allow that. That would be ridiculous.
My whole point is, I don't think this is even... dark money doesn't even mean anything. This is just like a random...
Okay, so now you're making a totally different claim.
When people talk about...
Oh my God.
When
if you
people
don't think
talk
dark money
about
means
dark money,
anything, then
well,
sure.
the way that you're using it doesn't. When people talk about dark money, they're talking about a quasi-political entity that's not supposed to be avowedly political, that can solicit donors, but doesn't have to report who the donors are. Your definition of dark money is every single person down the stream from that dark money entity that gets paid by them.
Definition.
That's what you're saying dark money is.
No, that's not true.
It is.
True. It's not. That's just simply not true.
It definitionally is. If the 1630 fund wanted to pay, if the 1630 fund wanted to pay me money for a thing, I'm not taking dark money. I'm taking money from the 1630 fund. I can say publicly where it comes from.
Which is a very notorious. It is known as, I think Google, it is referred to in major Politico headlines as a well-known dark money group.
Wait. 1630 is a dark money group, but everybody downstream from that is not automatically a dark money group.
They're accepting dark money.
They're accepting money from a dark money group. Sure, you can say that, but they're not.
Money from a dark money group.
But that doesn't make them a dark money group.
Sure, nobody would claim otherwise.
You're saying that the Chorus and all these people are all dark money groups.
No, I never said Chorus was a dark money group. I said that they've received funding and they are described as a project of a dark money group.
Okay, so then the program that you're a part of would be a project of a dark money group and receives money from a dark money group.
No, that's not. That's not how it's described anywhere. I'm sorry, it's not.
Can you show me evidence of the LLC that funds the Residence and Journal program, the hybrid entity that you're describing?
You can go on the website. I don't know what to tell you other than I'm telling you, I'm allowed to take part in this journalistic. I was allowed to last year take part in a non-partisan journalistic, fellowship, which again, dozens and dozens of other mainstream reporters have participated in. And I have never accepted dark money, and I never can accept dark money because I have to know where every dollar I accept comes from. I have to know where it comes from because
Can you explain to me on Omidyar's website, can you explain what this means? Omidyar Network is a hybrid structure. By the way, I don't know if you've learned this or not in your reporting, but that's code word for dark money hybrid entity. But so they say, because Omidyar Network is a hybrid structure that includes a limited liability company, the LLC, that's what you referenced, that's the dark part because they don't have to report where their money comes from, with a private philanthropic foundation. What do you think private philanthropic foundation means? Is that all money from Pierre?
Foundation, which is not the foundation, has no affiliation with the Reporters in Residence program.
They're the ones that donate the money to the LLC to make the Reporters in Residence program.
It's not from the foundation. No, it's not connected to the foundation at all. I know for a fact it's not because I can't do anything with the foundation.
Not directly. You go through the LLC, the middleman. That's the whole point.
No, it's not. It's not related to the foundation. The foundation is separate. The foundation is something completely separate. I know it's confusing because they all have the name Omidyar in it, but it's not.
It's not. It's structurally, this is literally how they are set up.
It's not. It's not. I'm sorry. You can speak to them yourself. I honestly think I would be happy to connect you with their comms person.
Sure. And if any of them are willing to come on and have a public conversation, I would absolutely love that. Any of them, 100%.
Sure they can debunk it. Mm-hmm. But I promise you, Destiny, none of us working in mainstream media.
You keep repeating this one point like it's helping you or saving any part of this conversation, where it's not.
No,
you can keep saying we would have to disclose or whatever. You're doing this in as a substitution for having any evidence. You keep falsely asserting that you would have to. There's no way this could be true because then we wouldn't have been able to write for Wired, which I don't even think is true.
Yes. Well, no, but seriously, I'm just wondering kind of what you think. Knowing that journalists can't take part in dark money, schemes and can't accept money from like political action groups. And again, we can't even accept gifts over like
I'm sorry,
$50.
if I were to hit up somebody at Wired and I were to ask them, in your contracts that you have for people that write op-eds or for people that do reporting or for people that work for you, you have the term dark money shows up in those contracts.
I don't know if the term dark money, but certainly, yeah, you can't accept political funding. You can't take part in political.
Just notice how you changed it again? Okay, but thank you for admitting that. Okay, go on to the next part.
I'm just saying,
okay.
I don't know the way that they word it specifically, but I can promise you that journalists and this is a very important thing that I think a lot of people don't realize about journalists, yourself included, that we cannot accept that sort of money. That would be very unethical. And I know that you believe that this this nonpartisan journalism fellowship is similar to this secret political influence program.
Because it's funded by the foundation.
It's not funded by the foundation. I don't know what to tell you that. It's simply not.
It's not funded by the foundation? Really?
Do you think that the Omidyar Foundation, by the way, is completely diametrically politically opposed to me? So it would be very hilarious.
Then why is it that it says on the site, Omidyar Network receives no funding for the Reporters in Residence program via the 1630 fund or any other outside sources. Our programmatic work is supported entirely via our foundation and LLC. Can you break that down for me, or am I confused what foundation means?
Programmatic work, but it's not funded by the foundation. They operate a nonprofit. They operate a political group.
Programmatic work.
I don't know what to tell you. Well, get their PR person on the line and they can explain it to you. But fundamentally, you're going in circles around all this stuff. The point is that even here's the thing. Let me also just get this to you.
Go for it.
What's so funny about all of this is that everything I do is public and disclosed, right? So you can litigate all of this stuff. The whole point of my article is the fact that this political influence program was not publicly disclosed. And these influencers are out acting like journalists, saying that they're journalists without publicly disclosing their funding.
What? Do they have to be journalists?
They are describing themselves as journalists.
I thought they were just influencers or streamers or whatever.
Well, they're describing themselves as journalists.
Yeah, but journalist is that's not a protected title. Anybody can describe themselves. Nick Shirley describes himself as a journalist.
Sure, Sure. And right. And Nick Shirley is probably also doing a lot of unethical things. I think it's really in the public's interest to know, again, that if you are out there talking about the news and pretending that you're an independent journalist, which comes with certain levels of connotations, and yet you are taking part in a secret political influence scheme, I think that's in the public interest to know. You're attending daily messaging check-ins. Again, you are part of a scheme that exists to promote democratic messaging. The public deserves to know that. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't know what the report. I would say the public deserves to know at the bare minimum whatever the legally reported requirements are. It sounds like you're saying that they weren't violating any laws in terms of what they're reporting.
So you think it's okay for influencers to take a lot of money for a political influence scheme and not disclose it to their fans?
I don't like that. But I think that my push, if I wasn't being politically partisan, would be to push Congress or to push legislators to make it so that there were stricter FEC requirements around what had to be disclosed, rather than to partisanly attack only some organizations because I don't like them, because it gives the impression that everybody else is above board, especially when your funding mechanism is the exact same as the one you're criticizing.
No. I am certainly not. I absolutely. And also a few-month fellowship is nothing. Like I know exactly where every single dollar of my money comes from, and I have never, ever taken money without disclosing it.
Okay. But your money is, but the funding mechanism, I read it, the thing it said, the work for the Reporters and Residents program is funded via the foundation and LLC, which is, you don't know where that money all comes from. That is literally how it works.
I'm sorry that you're confused by this. And again, you can speak to the PR people at Omidyar because you're confused by it.
I'm definitely not confused, I promise.
Can you stop? Can you, now that we've gone in circles enough, I think, on that, can you engage with the broader points, which you were saying on your stream earlier, of all of this stuff that that there was disclosure, that this was public, that influencers were talking about being part of the room? You don't have any evidence of that. So if you're going to make those claims, you better have evidence, because I promise you.
Wait, which claims am I making that you're not comfortable with?
That you said on your stream, which is what I'm trying to do, sort of debunk, is that you said this was public. You said that there was.
I said that there are public filing requirements for these programs. My understanding.
No, you said that influencers had disclosed it and could talk about the fact that they were part of this funding program.
My understanding is influencers weren't forbidden from disclosing it. I don't know if all of them did. I don't know if they're required to.
They weren't forbidden from disclosing it, and you have no evidence showing that they weren't forbidden from disclosing it.
So the onus is on you to make that, to prove that.
And we cite the contract,
You don't cite from the contract. You cite, first of all, you cite a part of the contract.
From the contract.
Yes, you don't quote from it. You paste a part of the contract on your article, but then you also simultaneously, you can't post the whole thing, which I don't understand.
We quote from the contract. We quote directly from the contract.
Am I remembering, or was it somebody else that posted this picture? Am I mixing your article up with somebody else's? Is it a picture of like 3 clauses as part of the contract, or was it just a quote?
That was one of the influencers that showed the contract validating, confirming our reporting, because the one influencer that posted part of her contract actually confirmed, she inadvertently confirmed our reporting. And that's, if you look at the response, people are like, oh, this confirms what she said.
Then why not just publish the contract? If they're showing you that to bolster it, why just publish a part of it?
Well, you'll have to call the lawyers up and ask why they don't let people publish source material. But what I will tell you is that
you're telling me that they would allow you to publish a part of a contract, but not more parts of the contract?
You can quote from a contract, but you can't publish the full contract in full. Again, that's just the decision made to not publish the source material, which is pretty standard. It's very rare that you're allowed to publish your direct source material. Again, because this is not Twitch receipts culture. It's
not about Twitch receipts culture. You keep saying this like very derisively, but the problem is that your article contained so much like half-truth or just information that wasn't substantiated at all that it seems like there would be there'd be an onus on you to actually show that what you're saying is true rather than just anonymous.
We quote directly from the contract, and the influencer that showed her contract, that showed part of her contract, confirms our reporting, and also not a single influencer in the program, privately or publicly, has been able to provide any evidence that what we reported was false. It's just simply that's why it's factually correct. I'm sorry. That's why I want you to engage with reality, which is that this is the program that they were running. And by the way, they still have not been public about who's in the program. Even now, even currently, there is no public disclosure of who they're funding. And I would argue, I agree with you that Congress should take this up and that there should be filings. But I would argue in the meantime, all of these groups should be public. And by the way,
so in your article here, so you have, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all. Mm-hmm. I never saw anything that was that this is from in any of the contract.
Again, every single creator, we have multiple copies of the contract from all the creators. None of the creators were able to provide a single shred of evidence that this is false. None of the
The onus. I'm just engaging with your article. And I'm wondering...
Our article is correct, and we cite the contract. We have copies of the contract. We cite them. We say, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired. And again, none of the creators that have come out since in all the controversy, if that was wrong, and if their contract
I don't know where are the quotes in here.
On that story.
Where is the site? Where is the citation or quotes here from the contract? I see you quoting like 2 or 3 words at a time.
You see, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, right? You can read that, right?
Yeah, so that's your interpretation. I'm reading an op-ed. This is basically an op-ed right now. It's an op-ed. I'm getting an op-ed.
No, it's not an op-ed. It's not an op-ed.
Basically,
No, it's not. It is not an op-ed. Go look at what it is in the news section. It is not an op-ed. It's not subject to any of that sort of rules.
This is your opinion on what the contract said. You're not giving me. I don't see any.
No, there's no opinion there. It is according. We are citing directly what the contract.
Yeah, you're not quoting. I don't know what you're citing. I mean, if you're saying not a quotation,
we cite the contract. And again, Destiny.
This is your interpretation of what the contract said. I want to see the contract.
No, it's not our interpretation. It is not our interpretation. It's what the creators were told. It's what the contract says. It's
Do you have proof? Did you post proof that the creators were told that? Were there any text messages or emails or communications that were published in this?
We cite a bunch of that stuff. If you go through and read the story, you can see that the story is based on.
I just see your interpretations of things.
No, I don't know what to tell you other than do you think that these hundreds of creators in this program, if this was never in or over 100 creators, I think in the initial class, right? If this was actually not in the contract, or we got it wrong, why when Wired's lawyers reached out, why wouldn't there be a correction on that article?
It could be a variety of reasons. It could be that they don't want to get into a protracted war with you if they feel like you have nothing to lose and they have things to lose. It could be that they feel like your initial reporting could never be countered with any number of contract releases because you'll always find some other thing to fight them on. It could be that they don't feel like they don't want to give away some amount of information that they have a right to retain privacy to. It could be they feel like their influencers are going to be harassed because you call out so many specific names in this article, seemingly just for the purpose of directing harassment at them. I don't know, there could be a million reasons why they don't want to.
None of those things that you gave are any sort of legitimate, because it would be we could be legally sued if we didn't correct it. I would be sued and Wired would be sued if we knew. All of those things that you said are irrelevant. If we knowingly printed false information and refused to correct it or chose not to correct it, then you have a lawsuit on your hands. So it's just, and by the way, it's so eager, right? Remember, they were like, "Oh, we'd love to sue." I'm sorry, they would issue a correction.
Well, they did issue a correction. Brian Tyler Cohen made a video speaking about the stuff. You don't like it, but they did issue what they felt like. No, there's not any. Oh, I'm sorry. You meant Wired would issue a correction. Sure. Wired has not corrected any in this article. That's fine. But my guess is going to be just the optics of it alone of a media some partisan interest group suing a political outlet or a media outlet probably is a really bad look, irrespective of.
Again, they don't have to sue. They could just get the article corrected. And the fact that it's not corrected is because it's not false. It's simply not false. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not false. And by the way, that influencer that shared a portion of her contract only confirmed our reporting. So I would love if the contract was uploaded publicly by these creators. They could go for it. But regardless, our reporting stands completely confirmed. And if it was false, there would be a correction. Because even if they don't want to do it publicly, they would happily provide the lawyer with proof that I was wrong. They would happily get the article corrected. That's all they would want to do is get that article corrected because they don't.
That's fine. But if that's your perspective, that's okay. My standard for journalism is a bit higher. No, this is slop journalism. What you're describing is that I publish a thing, and if there hasn't been a retraction or correction on it, then the thing must be 100% true, even if I do a really shoddy job at justifying any of it in the article. And the reality is that you don't justify any of your stronger claims in the article. You don't justify that content restrictions exist, like you put, I think, in the headline of the article. You don't justify that the people were totally forbidden from disclosing anything, which seems to be contradicted by the fact that as soon as this article came out, a ton of people started talking about them.
Destiny? You don't have any proof of your claims otherwise.
I don't have to prove mine. I'm the reader. The onus is on you, Taylor. Taylor, you're the journalist. You have to prove your claims.
You take secret money from, some evil monster. I don't have to claim otherwise. I don't have to. I can just say whatever I want. It's up to you to disprove it. Like you're just making these ridiculous claims.
Well, I agree. That would be a ridiculous claim. But what you just did is what you did before. You made a random claim, and now you're telling me that I have to disprove it. I can't disprove it. But you never even proved your claim.
The article. The article. I really think you have a deep misunderstanding of journalism.
I know you keep saying these words, and I appreciate you saying them and spinning people around in circles.
Journalists can just go, and I know, and I understand the distrust in journalism. I really do, but
mainly alt media journalism, especially because of subjects like this. But yeah,
sure. But like to act like my whole article is secretly untrue, and it's that these influencers that are so desperate to prove me wrong would somehow be withholding that information that would prove me wrong and actually vindicate them, but they're all withholding it. I don't even know why, just in order to let my article stand for some reason. It's just very silly. Like, I'm sorry.
You can keep repeating this line over and over again, but to me, I'm not looking for a debunking when I'm looking at an article. I'm just looking to see if the original article even substantiates what's being said in the article.
We cite the contract, we cite text messages, we cite recordings of the phone calls. We got actually recordings of their onboarding Zooms. We cite
none of those things that you're referring to substantiated the idea that there were content restrictions or that disclosure was banned from any of the influencers participating.
We literally, again, it's cited in the article. You don't like that you don't have the primary sources. And that's what's upsetting to you, is that you don't have the primary sources. And I understand why that's upsetting to you as a news consumer. That's something that I hear constantly when I cover news, is I want to see the receipts. I want to see the primary sources, because people don't trust journalism anymore. They don't understand how the process of journalism works. They don't understand the amount of vetting and fact checking that go into producing an article. So the only way that they can sort of understand how to consume information is to sort of see things directly and kind of try to make their own interpretations, because they don't understand the fact-checking process. But what I would tell you is that there is a fact-checking process. And again, these influencers would love to discredit me. They would love nothing more than to discredit me. And they would love to prove me wrong. And I don't know what to tell you other than our story is based on facts. It remains factually true. And there has been not a shred of evidence that has disproven any of the claims that are made in our story. Now, I totally hear you, by the way, that there are a lot of claims.
How should somebody, let's say that I claim I have seen a contract and it actually fully invalidates everything that you're saying about Chorus. Now what do we do if neither one of us is willing to publish the original contract?
If that was true, then you could just go to the Condé Nast lawyer and say, hey, I was a Chorus creator and I have a copy of the contract and it's not what you claim, and they would immediately issue a correction.
What if they don't want to be involved with the harassment campaigns and everything else that goes on from all of these?
This is Wired. They're reporting on Trump and Doge. This is nothing for them.
This particular article that you wrote was a huge hit piece on all the people involved in the center left sphere of politics. Maybe they don't want to be named. I know you love dropping names in these paragraphs and knowing that you'll direct harassment to them. Maybe they don't want to be named.
They wouldn't be named. No. The people. If you're providing information, to fact check the piece, that you wouldn't be named. Why would you be named in the article? You're not agreeing to go on the record. You're just providing your contract.
Do you think that if a correction was even issued at this point, it would even correct for any of the damage done at this point?
Well, I think if a correction was issued, that would be huge.
It wouldn't be.
Because, oh my God, yes, it would. Oh, by the way, I had dinner with just a few Chorus creators the other night. Yes, it would be. Yes, it would be, because they would love nothing more than to disprove this article. They would love nothing more to do that because they think that it has been damaging. And what I would argue is that the damage, and I do think actually, again, some of the creators that I even have hung out with recently were sort of talking about this. I would argue the real damage is in the response to it. And instead of sort of discussing these things in a normal way, it's been litigated into this thing where people, again, they end up sort of doubling down on the claims made in the article instead of what I think they should have done, which is just proactively disclosed it. I think that would have hamstrung the article. I think that
can you tell me explicitly Why is it that you would never publish the contract in question if you had a hold of the original contract?
The lawyers make those decisions.
You're the journalist. Tell me why the lawyers make those decisions.
Yeah, for all different reasons, but
Give me
basically
two of them.
Honestly, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't understand. I don't have.
Didn't we literally have people that published like Trump's tax returns and stuff? Like, you're telling me that like nobody's published a contract? Haven't people gotten contracts with people in Hollywood or big podcast sales and then published those contracts?
No, often the contract itself is not published for various reasons. I can tell you that I feel this frustration. If you remember, like, for instance, when I did my interview with Chaya Raichek of Libs of TikTok, I worked so hard to get my actual interview with her, that source material made public, specifically because I think it's really beneficial.
But you could have made it. You could have made it public, though. No.
No, not without approval from.
Why could you not have just made this a Substack post?
What? Made what a Substack post?
Instead of writing this for Wired, selling the article to Wired, which I imagine they paid you for the article, right?
I was a freelancer, so I wrote it on a freelance. Yeah, I wrote it for freelance for them.
Meaning they paid you for the article, right? Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so then why wouldn't you just publish this on a Substack where you could release the entire contract?
Because I want legal review, because I've been sued for defamation by lunatics before. I've had.
Why would you be sued for defamation publishing a contract? How is it defamatory?
Oh my God. Because the thing is, with defamation suits, it doesn't matter if they have any merit. They don't. Obviously, all the times I've been sued for defamation, it's thrown out or dismissed or whatever. But it doesn't matter. It's an intimidation tactic. And if
then wouldn't this one just get thrown out and dismissed?
When you publish something independently on a Substack, you do not have the level of legal protection and legal review and editing. I wanted editors. Probably half a dozen people worked on this story. I know my name is on the top, but multiple editors, fact checkers, lawyers, people worked on this story at Wire, not just me. And this is a story that was complex enough, and especially with the amount of source material and the amount of creators we spoke to and the amount of material that we had, source material, I wanted to bring it to somewhere that I knew had a track record of really just going with the facts and making sure that absolutely everything I said was bulletproof, double-checked, triple-checked by, I would argue, some of the best editors working in media today. So I would want to trust them with that story instead of me just going on Twitter or giving it to some, leftist hate account that could have just made it into some drama and,
I just don't buy any of that. There are tons of people that are posting incredibly salacious stuff on Substack. The idea that you thought you would have been sued by defamation.
Let me tell you that. They're not named Taylor Lorenz. I do not have the level of legal protection that some other people do. And let me tell you, I talked to Ken Klippenstein, who's a good friend of mine, who does publish a lot of legal stuff. His legal insurance, it is something that I certainly cannot afford. I don't have that ability, unfortunately. And I think it's cool that some people do. But as somebody that reports specifically on censorship campaigns and reports specifically on, these bad faith efforts to silence journalists, if I have a difficult story like this, I don't want to do it on my own. I want the fact checkers to rigorously go through it. I want lawyers to tear it apart. I want people that are really the best in the business to look hard at every single word and say, is this factually correct? Is this
Why not email? If you email me the contract, I'll publish it.
That would be... Why don't you ask the creators? I certainly cannot do that myself. Legally, I absolutely cannot do that. You're asking me to just give you source material for my story. But what I would tell you is, why don't you go to these creators? Why don't you go
because
to these
they're
creators?
all to the left of me. They're not going to give me anything. I've reached out to two. Both of them hate me.
They're not to the left.
They absolutely are to the left of me. Absolutely they are.
I don't know the political sort of, breakdowns of everything, but I think there's some people in there. Brian Tyler Cohen, if he's so eager to share that this is not true, you would think that he would publish the contract or certainly give it to another outlet to discredit me. But he hasn't, and they won't.
You published your article on August 27th of 2025.
Yeah.
Your claim is that nobody was allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus, and that's one of the things that you revealed in your article?
The contract says that they were not allowed to disclose. And there's still no they're not allowed to disclose. They were not at that point. Now
that they were not allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus.
No. So you're mistaking. Chorus is the broader sort of thing, but this is the funding program is what there was no disclosure over. The Chorus was public, right? Chorus got that whole profile in the New York Times by Ken Bensinger when they were announced. Chorus was public, but
okay,
the
wait.
funding,
So just so I can understand. So then you're saying that they would all be allowed to say that they were part of Chorus. They just weren't allowed to say that Chorus was funded by 1630.
So Chorus is the bigger entity, but this specific political influence funding program, which had, they're doing different cohorts. They just started their second cohort, but their last cohort, right? Those creators in that funding program were not allowed to disclose per the contract that they were part of this funding program. And you will not, I promise you, but I'd love for you to try, find me any evidence that these creators disclosed that they were part of this funding program before my article.
As in they were making money, or as in that Chorus?
No, that they were part of a funding program.
I don't know when you say funding program. I don't know what that means. Like your reporters and whatever thing, like that funding program, or?
Well, that would be an example of me disclosing funding. Sure. Yeah, that's an example of me disclosing funding. So you could say that, any of these creators were saying, hey, I'm receiving money, or I'm sponsored by XYZ. I'm part of this funding program that's giving me money to, promote whatever XYZ sort of messaging. None of them disclosed it.
I can go look for more of this. I don't have all of this offhand, but I have no idea why. I feel like publishing the contract or actually publishing parts of the contract, I think would have led a lot to the credibility to the.
No, I hear you that you want source material, and I empathize with you, and I always encourage news organizations to put as much out as they can publicly. But in the meantime, there's 100 creators in that original cohort that can share the contract with you. One posted publicly.
You keep saying this, but in my mind, good journalism, the onus is on the journalist to substantiate their claims, not publish whatever. No, you didn't. You did not. You did not publish any part of the contract. The one that I was thinking of, I guess, was a TikTok girl that was publishing.
We didn't publish the source material, but we cite
your opinions about it.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
We don't rely on our opinions of it.
Taylor,
no, we don't.
citing the source material would be a quote from the contract. What you're giving is your opinion on the contract.
No, it's not. No, my opinion on the contract is very different, actually. But no, we are citing the contract. Not only are we citing it sort of as it directly sort of says, but also as the creators themselves were told. Again, find me I'm sorry.
Where in your article did you're citing from the contract talking about the contract?
It says, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired. We are citing the copies of the contract.
What is citing? When you're summarizing, you're giving your opinion.
No, we're citing. No, we're not. No,
there are no quotes.
I have a very different opinion on it.
There are no quotes in here. You said, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund. Oh, so wait, I'm sorry. It was with Chorus and the 1630 fund, not the limited thing that you just claimed a second ago. So is that a misprint in your article?
No. So Chorus, the Chorus funding program, which is what the article is about.
No, that's not what this says. This says, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund. Or functionally,
their relationship with Chorus being the funding program that they're part of. The funding program that they're part of. That is what we're talking about.
Okay, don't necessarily. I think that probably should have been spelled out there. But the biggest problem here is you're not citing the contract. This is your interpretation of the contract.
No, it's not our interpretation of it. It's not.
There's no quotes.
It is what the Well, I'm sorry we didn't put quotes around the sort of the legalese.
That's what it means when you cite something. You say legalese is simple contract language. Nothing here is that complicated.
Again, I think you got to go to journalism school. Citing something doesn't mean necessarily that you're quoting directly from it. You can just say what it says. So for instance, you mentioned Trump's tax returns. You can say, according to Trump's tax returns, he paid XYZ. That doesn't mean that you're directly quoting from
I'm pretty sure for the tax
return
stuff, they were literally publishing the 1040 front pages and stuff. But
sometimes. But I'm saying that you can cite documents without quoting directly from them. In fact, look at the OpenAI dispute, right, with the Pentagon. The Atlantic story by Ross Anderson. It's not citing, it's not quoting throughout the exact nature, the exact language of the contract.
There's a world where I could agree to you, but you're giving a very huge summary of what's going on in this contract without any underlying quotation at all.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry that there's not more quotes in there from you, but again, but there is absolutely.
I know it sucks that I really wish there was like good journalism
Well,
where I could
do you
rely on what's
think-
being
I
said
mean,
in the article
the
instead of
pendulum-
your interpretation. And you clearly have demonstrated multiple times in this conversation that you don't understand the funding structures. You don't understand how these hybrid entities work. You don't understand. You don't know what
And I
499
guess-
is.
and I
You've
guess
described this
all
over
the
and over again.
fact
But I'm
checkers and all
supposed
the
to.
editors-
I don't know
all
how many
the
fact
fact checkers
checkers.
and
I don't
all
know
the
how many
editors-
fact checkers and what editors
all
were
the
involved on
editors
this.
and
I
the
don't know for this
lawyers
one.
that
I have no
look at this-
idea. Wired has different segments of their company that report on different things and fact check in different ways. I don't know what fact checking went into every single part of this.
Why don't you look at what section it's under? And why don't you think if you think that the Wired politics section is my personal blog that doesn't
I
have
never
to
said
go
it was
to
a personal blog, but I think that the standards, I don't think this article should have been published without more evidence in the article. I would say that easily, of course. If you want to get
But you
somebody from
personally
Wired to argue with
should.
me, you can
personally-
ask them to come out and say, hey, tell Destiny why he's such an idiot on what the journalistic standards should be for this article. I would gladly talk to anybody from Wired about it, 100%.
I think that if you want to claim that you personally would like more direct quotes and that would have helped you personally better understand the article, or maybe
It would have
people
helped.
that
It
you-
would have substantiated the claims made in the article, which are largely unsubstantiated.
They are substantiated by directly from the contract. We are. You're right that we didn't put quotes around that language, but that language is almost. It's very similar. To
If it was very similar, then why'd I just have a quote?
Because again, for many reasons. One, when you're writing a story like this, the sourcing is very clear, and when you're continually putting quotes, there's editorial reasons not to do that. And again, I just want you to think about
this is an op-ed. I would say that this is an op-ed. This is an op-ed. This is clearly an op-ed. This is an opinion piece. This is an opinion piece.
There's no opinion in that.
It is. Everything is an opinion. You don't have the original contract. We can't see it from the public. You're quoting that you're claiming that you're citing to something, a citation to material that we don't even have. So I don't know if I can even trust your citations. Other people from Chorus have come out contradicting what you've said.
You're right. You don't have my source material.
The contract, correct? Yes, and you're not quoting from it at all.
And it's notable that you don't have direct source material of anything that you're claiming. You're claiming all this.
You're the one making the claims.
And I have the source material which we reference.
Yeah, but we don't have access to it, so we don't know if your references are good. Your opinions on it could be flawed.
So I know that you think that, again, this just goes back to this idea of people like not understanding the process of journalism. And I think that this is
to be clear, just to be ultra rigidly clear, this is an example of bad journalism. This isn't an opinion. You're referencing a contract that we don't have access to, that we can't verify or validate.
It's not in the story. You never asked my opinion. If you want to know my opinion on all of this, I'll happily share. It's not in the story. It's not anywhere in the story. But I would happily share my opinion on it if you're interested to know.
No, I just wish that the article itself would have actually substantiated anything it said with actual excerpts from the contract. That would go really far.
You personally want more quotes from the contract. I totally accept that.
I want the material that was used to substantiate the op-ed that I read. That's what I want. I want the op-ed to be substantiated with the actual material. That'd be so nice. That'd be so cool.
It's just simply not an op-ed.
Okay.
It's simply not an op-ed. And to dismiss journalism like this is very disappointing. I understand it's hard for influencers. I understand this. I understand that it is a confusing media landscape. I would argue that these funding schemes could, participate in sort of.
I just don't know how I feel about somebody like you who gets money from a dark money fund, who's publishing hit pieces on other influencers and political orgs without disclosing any of the source material the stuff came from because you wanted to get paid by Wired instead of publishing it independently. That's just a lot of stuff that's all coming together that makes me a little bit nervous about the sourcing of the material.
I would get paid more if I published it independently. I would have made way more than what I made from Wired.
How much did you get paid by Wired for it?
Not very much, let me tell you. For months and months of reporting, I don't think I can share my rate. But
so you're not allowed to disclose. Do you know what Wired's funding mechanism is for everything? Does Wired publicly publish where they get all their money from?
Wired gets money from subscriptions and advertising. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're open. I don't know. You have to look at Condé Nast tax filings. I don't know.
All of their sources are publicly available, because otherwise wouldn't that make Wired a dark money fund and you're not even disclosing the amount that you're receiving from Wired for it?
No.
Do you think that journalists should have to report how much money they get paid to write articles for companies that they don't work for?
I actually would love transparency.
Well, then why don't you start? Wait, then why don't you publish it?
Because we agree not to share rates.
So then what's the problem with companies like Chorus if they have their agreements, but they're all obeying the law? They're all doing what's legally required of them.
I'm public. What is the difference between a journalist publicly writing for a news outlet and an influencer taking part in a secret political influence scheme?
It's not a secret influence scheme. You yourself said they were already public about Chorus. You just
No, it was the funding scheme that I wrote about, the 1630 fund stuff, was not public. The political influence scheme was not public. I'm sorry, it was not public.
The fact that creators were part of Chorus, were part of this group, that was public information.
No. Most of the creators mentioned actually, it was not public at all.
Hold on, no. I'm saying that there were people. Nothing about it was mandated to be private. That they were in Chorus. They have YouTube videos of themselves on Chorus panels and talking about stuff. This was not.
Chorus itself was public, but not everyone affiliated with Chorus is in the funding scheme with 1630 fund. So there are people that were affiliated with Chorus that were not part of the funding scheme. The funding scheme is what was secret. It was a secret political influence funding scheme.
Weren't they all part of the same thing, but just some were getting paid and some weren't?
No, some are not part of that. Some also are moving forward with the second cohort. Some are not. I would love if they would publish a full roster, but regardless,
are they legally required to?
No, and that's what a problem I point out in the article. But journalists freelancing for a news outlet is nothing like a political influencer taking part in a secret political influence campaign. Journalists freelancing, and I totally
that they're not required. They're not required to publicly disclose, right?
No, that's what I point out in the article, is that they're not required to by law, and that's a huge problem in our political ecosystem, and something that I wish that both parties would work to address, because I think transparency is good, which is why, as I said to you before, I wish that pay rates across the board for freelancers were also all equal. I mean, I've worked at places where I found out that the person next to me is making thousands of dollars more for the same work as I do. Pay transparency overall is very
And you still maintain that the people that were part of Chorus, that they had content restrictions on the types of things that they could say?
What we cite in the article is that content, and correct me if I'm wrong because you have the article in front of you, content produced with Chorus funds was under restriction, I think, if it says in the article. You have to read the exact language that we use in the article.
I'm sorry. So your headline, as part of your headline here, you say that an initiative aimed at boosting Democrats' online influencers, offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. The implication there being the type of content that they make publicly.
So you can read kind of like it where those instances were sort of outlined.
So you think that you still maintain that Chorus was telling people that they couldn't talk about the genocide in Palestine, or that they were...
No, our article doesn't say anything like that.
What were the content restrictions implied by the headline?
That nowhere does it say anything about
What were the content restrictions implied by the headline then?
Why don't you read further in the article?
I did read in the article. You don't substantiate anything though, so I'm just curious what you think the content restrictions...
We cite the contract. We cite the contract.
You don't though.
Why don't you read that? Pull it up and I'll read it for you. This is so exhausting. I need to get back to doing actual work soon. Hold on, let's see. So let's read exactly the portion that you're asking about. Will and have restrictions on what sort of policies content could produce. The program kicked off last month. 90 creators were told that 90 imposters would take part in Wired, so I'm just reading it. Some creators also raised concerns about a slew of restrictive clauses in the contract. Influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases on onboarding session. This is all us again citing our sources. For those receiving payments include we mentioned a bunch of people. According of copies of the contract viewed by Wired and that the creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all.
So we know that they could disclose their relationship with Chorus, but you're saying at this point in the article what you meant was they couldn't disclose that they were part of the Chorus creator program.
Yeah, their relationship in the funding program, which is what this article is about, the funding program. Chorus itself is public. We link to the news article about Chorus, and we cite Ken Bensinger's public reporting on Chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Following initial outreach, many creators expressed concern about some of the stipulations. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. If I want to work with another politician, I have to fully collaborate with them, said one creator was offered the contract but ultimately declined and asked not to be named. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give that to them.
So you're citing his opinion on his contract there, yes?
No, not his opinion. No, not his opinion. That's what he was told by Chorus. So he was told that by Chorus. And
well, he's telling you this, right? This is not a direct quote?
No, we have the original. We also have the Zoom calls and we have text messages and everything that back up all of
you
our
have
claims.
Text messages or Zoom calls with a Chorus representative saying you are not allowed to book your own political interviews or whatever. They say that.
That's actually just directly written in the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually
sure would be nice if you put that in a quotation anywhere, but okay.
Well, again, sorry that we didn't put more quotes.
Well, I know it'd be good reporting and good journalism to do so, but I understand we're just in the nebulous world of opinions here. That's okay. My standard for op-eds is a lot lower. That's fine.
There's no op-ed, and this is Destiny. Are you going to actually engage with this or not?
I can't engage with anything. You're telling me to just believe you and trust you on the contracts that you read that aren't available publicly anywhere. I can't anything. I can't do anything.
I know you don't understand how source material.
But you don't understand how contracts work. So I mean, I'd rather see the source material than go on your opinion about the contracts.
Here's some quotes for you. Creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance in writing per the contract. The contracts reviewed by Wired prohibit standard partnerships.
That first paragraph you read, that's by law, right? That makes sense. That if I'm paying somebody for something, they can't take that money directly in support because that could be seen as that would be a campaign contribution violation.
I'm about to read a quote.
Go ahead.
Where we mention some of this. So we say creators will, quote, not publicize their relationship with the Chorus or tell others that they're members of the program. Quote,
wait, real quick. I'm sorry. Yeah, so you have to do the end quote as well for people, right? You say, quote, not publicized, end quote.
Not
so
publicized.
that quote was 2 words. Go ahead.
No, we haven't gotten to the quote.
Well, that was one quote. You had 2 words quoted there. Yes, go ahead.
We have two words.
That's okay.
Quote, without Chorus's prior express consent. A screenshot from a slideshow was shared with Wired following this article's publication by Graham, a lawyer working with Chorus that offers several talking points if a member of the cohort wanted to discuss Chorus publicly. They also forbid creators from, quote, disclosing the identity of any funder and give Chorus the ability to, end quote, and give Chorus the ability to force creators to remove or correct content based solely on the organization's discretion if that content was made at a Chorus organized event.
Okay. So if we read through, so first of all, we're very sparsely working with actual quoted material here, but
all right,
I see that we have. I see that we have. Well, hold on. So we said that creators will not publicize their relationship with Chorus, but they could do that. But you meant the Chorus funding mechanism, I think, right?
Well, Chorus itself was a public program.
I agree. But it's real confusing reading this article because you seem to not really differentiate with that. You just say Chorus, not the Chorus funding program.
All right, Destiny, I'm done with this.
And then it says, quote, without Chorus's prior express consent, end quote. So it seems like they could. They just needed to clear it with them first.
This is exhausting.
And then they forbid creators from disclosing the identity of any funder. Well, that makes sense, right? If 1630 is a LLC that doesn't have to disclose who their donors are, then you also probably wouldn't be allowed to disclose who you think is funding them, right? That makes sense, right?
Such a waste of time.
But there's no. I don't think it is. I think it's actually really illuminating. There is so there are no content restrictions.
Rant about stuff. What are you talking about? We just mentioned a bunch of content restrictions. God.
Literally, as in political content, as in like opinions they're allowed to have, stories they're allowed. Remember, in the second paragraph of your article, you said they had restrictions on what sort of. Let me do this for you. Quote: it mandated extensive secrecy about disclosing their payments and had restrictions on what sort of political content the creators could produce. End quote. That's from your article.
Yes. Go read it again, and that's what we're citing.
I don't know what you're citing. That's your opinion about what was said, but
there's no opinion. Okay. I'm sorry. There's no opinion. I have a lot of opinions. Mm-hmm. None of them are reflected in this article. I'll tell you that. Because if it was my opinion, I would be putting a lot of opinions into this piece, none of which are reflected. Again, this article was worked on by so many different people. Well, anyway, the article outlines some of the restrictions. So now you can just read the article over and over and over again until you die. I'm sorry if you if you want to go and, you personally don't like the quotes here, go look at that report, that one TikToker who posted part of the contract, the portion of the contract that she showed validated exactly what we reported. But if you don't believe that and you want to go.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
not.
Yes,
it is, Allie. Yes, it is.
Nope.
Yes, it is.
Super is not. I promise.
Pull it up right now. 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 And I will show you exactly how it validates exactly what we reported.
Are you talking about this thing right here?
Yep. Here we go. Chorus contractor agrees to utilize the Chorus newsroom to book engagements.
Okay.
Disclose to Chorus newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda. Interesting. What's their policy agenda? That contractor
Isn't it
arranges
publicly
through other
listed?
means.
But go ahead.
No, it's not.
Chorus what Chorus supports is not publicly listed on their website. If I go to the Chorus website, I'm not going to know publicly what their policy agenda is.
No, if you go actually, and this was a big thing because if you remember afterwards, right after, one thing that they tried to claim for a minute before it was ridiculous was that they were actually nonpartisan. And then, of course, that would fell out the window as soon as their decks leaked. But yeah.
Wait, Chorus initially advertised itself as a nonpartisan.
They have claimed, they have tried to claim falsely, I would argue, because we have their positioning decks, and also they're in an article on the New York Times where they're talking about helping Democrats. But after the article claimed out, they tried to claim that they were nonpartisan. Now they basically admit that
Did they claim that they were nonpartisan, or did they claim that they didn't explicitly support a political candidate or something?
No, they never talked about candidates. They claimed that they were nonpartisan.
Okay, I'd be interested in seeing that, but.
Well, you can look at it. You can look it up online. It's all right there.
So what about this quote do you think supports or reinforces anything you said in your article?
What, the disclose to Chorus newsroom personnel any engagement with government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda?
That contractor arranges through other means, yes.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're talking about in this article.
What do you mean?
Read the article again, and you'll see that what she's talking about.
What is the content restriction here?
Well, she doesn't disclose. She's not showing. She's talking about the engagement booking stuff. She's not showing the full contract. I wish she would.
Well, no, we wouldn't want that because apparently that would be bad journalism. Okay, so then thank you. So then
we
loop back. So this doesn't actually reinforce anything you've said in the article. Okay,
sorry, no. It does validate what we said.
Okay.
Yeah, literally right here. So we said. Remember how we said? We literally say in the article that creators must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus, again, through Chorus Newsroom. Creators also have to loop in Chorus on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. And we have the quote from the creator.
Yes, but it sounds like this is for people that they meet through the Chorus Newsroom, not any random person.
They have to funnel all bookings through the Chorus Newsroom. Look at
I think this is only. Look at the
contract. Look at the contract.
I'm looking at the contract. I'm reading it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Contractor agrees to utilize the Chorus Newsroom to book engagements.
Okay.
They have to use the Chorus Newsroom to book their engagements. They have to disclose.
Exclusively all of them? Where's the word exclusive there? So this is, I don't know what this is a section up, but the subsection is book engagements. Chorus will provide contractors with access to the Chorus Newsroom, which coordinates booking and engagement opportunities for creators with government officials, policy and nonprofit experts, and others whose expertise and experience are relevant to Chorus's progressive policy agenda. Oh, progressive policy agenda. Contractor agrees to 1, utilize the Chorus Newsroom to book engagements. So it sounds like if you're part of this program, you have to utilize it to some extent. It doesn't say exclusive in here, which I would absolutely expect to see in a contract if they expected some kind of non-compete or some exclusive utilization. Number one, yeah, but I don't think you have either, to be honest. And then part 2 here, it says... I
have multiple copies of the full contract, as we know in the story.
Okay, can I get a definitive statement from you then? Does the Chorus contract forbid you? It means that you have to exclusively, and they use the word exclusive in that contract, you have to exclusively do all of your bookings through the Chorus Newsroom?
Where's the word exclusive in our story?
Oh, then it's not exclusive. Thank you. Then we agree. So it says that you have to utilize the Chorus Newsroom to book engagements. If you're part of some program, I imagine they have something they're running, this newsroom thing that they want you to participate in. So, okay. And then 2, disclose to Chorus Newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or others on topics related to Chorus's policy agenda the contractor arranges through other means. So it sounds like if you meet somebody through this Chorus Newsroom thing and you want to do like an interview or some kind of engagement with them, you need to go through the Chorus Newsroom people in order to do it. This makes sense, but this isn't a restriction on your content insofar as like I couldn't arrange my own meeting with Zoran Mamdani.
We're talking about booking engagements. That's the portion
for people that you meet through the Chorus Newsroom.
So the way that it was described to the creator, who we quote, is that you have to funnel your bookings through the Chorus Newsroom. And by the way, this is something that was...
So you see earlier how I said this is why I don't want people's opinions on the material,
but I'd rather see it was his opinion.
That definitionally that's hearsay. That's his
No, it's
opinion
not.
on the contract. And now that I'm reading the actual contract, it seems like he was just a little bit too stupid to understand it. It sounds like this is saying that the people that you meet through the course newsroom must be communicated with the course newsroom if you want to book an engagement with them. That's what this reads like to me, as somebody who's seen probably as many contracts as you. Maybe not quite as many. It sounds like you've done a lot of stuff.
Oh my God.
But like,
I'm
if there was an exclusivity thing in here, it sounds like it would be there.
Let me just say, no one is even disputing this. This is how Chorus's own lawyer on the Zoom call. And again, I'm sorry that we can't share these calls with you. I'd love to.
It's so convenient for you.
I don't know what to tell you. This is just a huge waste of time.
Sure.
And
I'm just asking you for clarification. So then on that Zoom call, you're saying on the Zoom call,
and I don't know how people like.
Well, can I just ask a question? I'm just asking a question. On that
You're
Zoom call,
you're not just asking
I am.
questions.
It's a simple
You're
question.
not.
On the Zoom
You're
call,
not.
did the
You're
lawyer
not
say
asking
you're scared of the
questions.
question? That's why you don't want me to ask it.
No, I'm not.
You
You're
are.
just ranting and ranting and ranting and ranting, and you just barrel down, and you don't understand basic
Super
facts
easy.
related to
Super easy. That's
journalism.
easy. So on the Zoom call, the lawyer said you're not allowed to arrange any independent political bookings. All of it has to go through the course newsroom.
Oh my God. I don't know what to tell you other than every single thing in our
See, you
story.
can't acknowledge that because that means you do have the call. You know that's not true. It's not true. Your
No, it
article
is.
is a huge misrepresentation. Your article
Destiny,
misrepresents a ton of this contract. You
there
probably
is
know it.
No, again, I'm sorry that you're making these beliefs. I just want people to understand you're making these assumptions when you have never once seen a single copy of this contract. You have no access.
I don't have to though, because I can see by the way that you lie about it.
Stop interrupting. Okay. Stop interrupting. Let me finish.
Taylor.
Otherwise, I will get off the call.
Okay, Taylor.
You are making these accusations, claiming that my story is wrong, when you have zero access to any of the group chats that we have, to zero access of all the recordings of the Zoom calls that we have. You have zero copies of the contracts, and you have conducted zero interviews with people that are in the program. You have not spoken to anyone at the 1630 fund, and you have not spoken to any lawyers that were involved in signing these contracts, lawyers for the creators themselves. Oh, also, talent agents and managers as well, who also understood and were involved in these contract negotiations. I just want people to understand that we did all of that before the story, and all of that is reflected in our story. I understand that you don't believe that, and that's fine. Okay, you don't have to trust journalism, but it is a fact that we did all of that work, and it is a fact that there is zero corrections on that story, because it's in the wake of the story, not a single one of those creators has privately or publicly debunked anything that we have said. I'm sorry, they haven't. And privately, it has been confirmed. And they are still my sources, and I still talk to them. I don't know what to tell you. But if you want to disprove this, I highly encourage you to do your own reporting. Do your own reporting and make your own report on the Chorus program. Why don't you join the Chorus program? Okay, and then you can see, if you think it's accurate or whatever.
It's just crazy that you would go through the effort of doing so many interviews, so many Zoom calls, so many contracts, so many emails, and there's just so little quotation or display of any of that material.
I know you feel we should have quoted directly. I would argue.
What that means is, and I won't give my opinion, I'll just say it as a fact. What that means is that you know that material doesn't support this story.
No, that's not
that this story is probably largely misleading or a lie. And if you don't like that, then either you or Wired can sue me for it. If you think that because I'm accusing you of lying on it, that's fine. If you want to do that, then we can all hash it out and figure it out that way. But
first of all, I would never sue you. I don't believe in suing over speech in that way. That is something that I speak about constantly, which you refuse to engage with. Second of all,
I refuse to engage with it. Okay.
Well, you're just making these ridiculous claims. Second of all, again, Destiny, you have I'll say it again. You did not do any of the interviews. You do not have any copies of the contract. You do not. I encourage you to go out and do your own reporting. Until you go out and do your own reporting, this is a very circular conversation that we are frankly never going to agree on. And I'm sorry that you feel, it's very funny because when I originally filed my first copy of the story, I actually had block quotes from the contract. And then when I was editing it, I was like putting the block quotes on each single word again for fact checking. But I understand as a reader.
Hold on, wait. So I understand what you just said. You're saying that you had more citations, actual citations to the original material, and then Wired forced you to remove those citations?
No, they didn't force me to remove anything.
See, very tricky. You're very tricky. You're very tricky. I appreciate that about you, but go ahead.
There's no trickiness. That is poor journalism. It is bad journalism to have massive block quotes every other paragraph quoting from a contract. It's a bad, unreadable story.
I see.
And so of course, when you write, and I've written about many contracts, right? You don't necessarily quote from it. Now, should more source material be put online? I totally am with you. That's my whole thing as a journalist, is to be more transparent. That's why I'm sitting here on a fucking Twitch stream or whatever app, Kick. I don't know what we're on. If we're on anything, if you're even recording, I don't know. But the point is that I really try to be an open book, and I really try to engage in good faith. And I'm sorry that we're not going to agree on some things. I am not out for the Democrats in the way that you think I am. I don't know what to tell you. We're going to have to agree to disagree. I wish you would spend your time, since you care so much about transparency, fighting some of these laws in Congress, engaging.
Well, it seemed like you said earlier that the original article was lawyer checked, but now you're saying these were just editorial decisions that you made because you didn't like the block quote. So then
no, certainly not. No. You go through edits where you go through extensive fact checking, extensive legal review. Editors all up and down the chain will make tweaks and changes based on their views. Again,
sure, but was there any point in this where a Wired editor or lawyer was telling you need to restrict the amount of actual source material shown in this article?
Well, of course, that's the natural editing process, is cutting it down. I think the original story I filed was like twice as long. Was there a
time where an editor or a legal person explicitly told you that you could not cite, you could not display the original source material in parts of this article?
Well, we agreed collectively not to.
See, I know, even because without you answering, I know the answer now, right? Because you're refusing to engage with it. I know that's how these work.
Well,
but,
sure. Yes, sure.
No, because you would have very easily answered. Well, of course, yes, there were parts where I wanted to include stuff, but they said that this wouldn't fly. They're illegal.
No, because I agree with them. No, because I agree with them I agree with them that it would be very bad experience for the reader to read my original copy, because I'm a bad writer. If you read my original copy, you would also see that I am I overly quote. That's like a thing that I do, is I overly quote from sources, and I overly quote things directly, because I started as a blogger. But I'm sorry that we're going to have to agree to disagree on all of this stuff. I think ultimately this is a huge waste of time. We're seeing one of the biggest rollbacks of civil liberties, I would argue, in our lifetime right now, making its way through Congress with the Kids Act and some of the other stuff. And I really, really wish that you would spend your time covering that stuff. And I wish that you would spend your time really fighting these laws and getting involved politically instead of litigating and fighting nonsense with journalists.
Well, I think the important part for, if you want to fight stuff like this, the most important thing you need is to get legislators in Congress. And as long as there are people like you that are constantly stabbing from the left and trying to undermine Democratic people getting elected and saying that both sides are the same no matter what, it basically makes that job impossible.
I would never say both sides are the same no matter what. Donald Trump is obvious. What are you talking about? The Republicans are obviously worse and more evil than the Democrats. What are you talking about? I would never say that. And I never have said that.
Okay.
So
I feel like I
silly.
heard you say on Pisco Stream multiple times that both parties were largely supportive of these particular free speech acts that you were...
Both parties are absolutely supportive of these really dangerous restrictive speech laws. That doesn't mean that the Donald Trump administration is the same as what would have been a Kamala Harris administration. That's ridiculous. And that doesn't mean that they can't both support very harmful policies, but we should critique their support of those policies and not make false equivalences, which I don't make.
Okay.
I am so disappointed by any Democrats that are supporting these censorship laws. And what I would hope that you would talk about that would be a far better use of your time, instead of fighting about some stupid influencer story, which is so just nothing in the grand scheme of things, when, again, we are about to see identity verification rolled out mass on the internet. And by the way, this is going to affect you, your own platform as a content creator. Don't you want your followers and your supporters to be able to see your content?
Listen, I gotta hop on a VPN if I even want to go on fucking not safe for work websites now in Florida. So yeah, it's already affecting me grossly. My life is
why
immeasurably...
Don't you speak out about it? So why don't you speak out about it? Why don't you talk about it? Why aren't you motivating your followers that you have to fight these laws, to call and to fight back against these laws?
I mean, I right now I feel like the SAVE Act is kind of the thing that I'm petrified by for the voting stuff. I think the other speech laws are scary, but I mean, nobody seems to have a realistic path forward. So we're basically just riding on the backs of the Europeans who are regulating stuff and then following them. We can't agree on any...
We're leading the way on so much. What are you talking about? I mean, yes, Europe is ahead of us in some ways, but But that's very silly to say. We have these really dangerous laws.
We're leading the way on
right?
for good restrictions or regulations, like the GDPR, the forced standardization of like charging ports on phones or whatever. I feel like all this stuff was kind of coming out of European legislation.
No, that Europe wants to lead that, but no, it's so much of this has come from America as well. I mean, look at Jonathan Haidt himself is American. I think that we have to look at the
Jonathan
broader
Haidt, the author. What is the legislation or like rules that are being pushed by the American Congress or by the American system that's forcing European countries to fall in line with us? I'm just not aware of any.
Forcing European countries to fall in line with us. We're seeing a broader global sort of political effort to censor the internet and to remove anonymity from the internet under the guise of child safety. And that has been driven...
Hold on. Legitimately, I'm sorry. We just misunderstood each other. What I meant to say earlier, it is the case right now that I think America is leading us in a very bad direction. When I said it seems like we're looking to Europe for leadership, I'm saying that any positive enforcement of internet stuff has come out from European stuff. Oh, but maybe you think the GDPR and that stuff is bad as well. I'm not sure.
No. I think data privacy stuff is good. There's a lot of good stuff in GDPR.
Okay. Yeah, I do agree that the American current system is moving all of us in a very, very bad direction, I would say.
And I think you have a very powerful and very dedicated audience that is not, and by the way, this is not an issue that the left cares about, so you could take it on as centrist or however you identify. There is no political coalition that is motivated to stop these laws right now, and that's really dangerous because you have the entire far right aligned with it. The leftists are like, I don't know, China's great. I don't know. We don't care about authoritarian internet censorship. I genuinely cannot understand why they don't care about this. But you would think that people that are pro-democracy, centrists at least, would be fighting these laws. And I think instead they're so busy fighting all the other bad stuff that Trump is doing that they are preoccupied. And I think
we need to have a big presence in Congress, and that we need to have a big coalescing of what is even real or happening anymore before we can even begin to talk about these more esoteric topics. I think that they're important.
These are esoteric.
When I say esoteric, I don't mean to say that they're not important. I think that some, like I would argue, like First Amendment is kind of an esoteric, abstract concept. I'm just saying that like right now we're on the verge of, or are already deep into a war with Iran. We're seeing gas prices shoot up. We've got ICE people murdering people in the United States and then getting escorted off by federal government officials in order to hide them from any kind of state intervention or culpability. Yeah. This is all really horrible stuff. I think the speech stuff is important, but like if we can't even manage to hold Congress as Democrats, I don't even know how we're going to begin to have, because the conversations around regulating speech in the United States are very difficult because people have a very naive perception of First Amendment rights that just unlimited speech and unlimited privacy and unlimited rights is the best thing ever, when in reality, these are all balancing acts, but we're not prepared to have that conversation right now. And I don't know how to...
Yeah, but I mean, I think like in the meantime, we should block these mass surveillance laws. And I totally hear you on like the more esoteric conversations around speech, but what's being pushed through in Congress right now, these are direct mass surveillance laws that enable, for instance, the Department of Homeland Security to track and surveil anti-ICE protesters. They're currently issuing hundreds of subpoenas, right, for the anti-ICE Instagram accounts and stuff. If you remove anonymity from the internet, they won't even have to go through that process. So there are, I think that preserving our ability to speak freely online and basically fighting these mass surveillance laws in the meantime is essential, or you simply won't, the left will not be able to gain much power online if we
Sure, but then I mean the question would be, because this is the easiest thing that people harp on, and you've identified this correctly, is the protecting children thing, right? What is the alternative then for people that are concerned about children's, bad engagements with internet stuff?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, data privacy protections, I'm sure you saw, but they're not even enforcing COPPA. The government came out and said, oh, we're just not going to enforce COPPA, the landmark privacy bill that protects children from having their data harvested.
No, not from having their data harvested. What is protecting children from viewing material online that a whole bunch of people in the United States think that children shouldn't have access to at all anyway?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Is that right now, the very few protections that we do have for children, which is related to data harvesting, they're rolling those back. That is making
what protects a child outside of these weird draconian laws we have now about ID verification in these states? What protects a child from viewing?
They don't protect children either. The ID verification laws don't protect
they make it harder for them to access the material. What is the what is the alternative to this for parents that are worried about their children accessing material like this?
Oh, well, what I would say is, first of all, there are so many applications. We essentially have enterprise level surveillance software that you yourself can put on a child's phone right now to prevent them from accessing material. That is far stronger than anything that
What's like one of these things? I've just never heard of them before.
Oh yeah, there's like Life 360 is one. There's so many different vendors, but they basically give you complete and total control to a level that I think is actually not a healthy way to parent. but if you want complete and total surveillance over your children, you can certainly have that. It's not going to be good. I mean, I don't think that that's a healthy way to, deal with your child. But maybe you have a child that's, that you need to use those tools. And I encourage people to use those tools. Unfortunately, we know that these identity verification measures don't protect children, and it often push children into even more dangerous spaces because they will be, they basically try to like circumvent these areas, and they'll go to like unrestricted areas of the web, et cetera, et cetera. And not to mention the broader sort of concerns. But I totally understand parents' concern. What I would say to parents too, that's really scary, that a lot of parents aren't thinking about, is it's whatever your child views or is doing. A lot of kids, say a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old, right, is on the internet looking up information about a health condition, or maybe they're getting a little radicalized online, whatever. Because we have no data privacy in this country, and these surveillance laws would make that worse, that data can then be used against them for the rest of their life. We want to prevent a world like that. We don't want a world where a kid, graduates college and it's harder for him to get employed because he was, Googling the wrong things when he was 14, or, people were able to sort of make deterministic, profiles about, using his data, right, to make these profiles about him, which ultimately discriminate against him, or that he's charged higher prices with the rise of surveillance pricing, right, where, now we've harvested a massive amount of data on you since the time you were born. Now we can use that in our predictive pricing algorithms. These are all things that we should be against. They're bad for consumers. They're bad for children. They're bad for adults. And we should not be giving these big tech companies more power to surveil us. This is something that, especially if you care about, you should be against any of it, right? Like, no matter who you are, even if you're that's why there are some conservative parents that are getting involved. But you should educate your followers about it.
I mean, there are other things that I think are more pressing. I think that the privacy stuff is worth looking at, but I mean, if you rolled back the recent ID stuff they're trying to do, or age verification stuff or whatever, like all of it, all of this stuff is already in existence anyway, right now, basically, right? Without any new laws. Basically, yeah.
We're expanding. What I would argue, though, is that we are at an inflection point where AI the government is able to use AI to basically, this is what all that Pentagon sort of controversy was about, is that they want to mass surveil Americans. And I think that the AI models are more and more powerful. So yes, you're right. We have not had data privacy in way too long. That's a problem. That's something that Europe has done a better job than us of. But we really need to push the idea of data privacy and privacy protections as much as we can. And the best thing that we can do for now is to stop these invasive surveillance laws so that these things aren't codified and that mass surveillance isn't permanently codified and we all lose the right to anonymity.
Sure. I hope we get good representation in the Congress this midterms, and I hope in 2028 we get a strong Democratic president that cares about stuff like this, and then we can push on that from that perspective. Yeah.
We need Democrats to start caring about it. Instead, I think a lot of Democrats are pro-surveillance. So
I think Democrats aren't going to care about it if we don't even have power in Congress, and when the Republicans are absolutely more obsessed with unregulating or deregulating every part of the crypto and surveillance. Do you think that if you could choose right now who you could influence more, if one party could be completely in power with supermajorities in both houses of Congress, do you think that the Democrats could be moved on this more, or that the Republicans could be moved on this more?
Obviously. It's weird with this issue specifically. What's really weird is that there's this faction in the House, for instance, where that is so pro censorship that it's the Democrats that want to add the duty of care back to COSA, which is really weird. But I think overall, undeniably, we want Democrats in Congress, obviously, because not just for this issue, for so many issues, okay? We want the Democrats in Congress. Now, I think we should pressure certain Democrats to be more Ro Khanna is a good example. Ro Khanna is out here talking about mass surveillance, talking about cracking down on big tech, but has supported, some of this surveillance stuff. So I think just pushing those lawmakers to be, accountable and to be anti-surveillance is really good. But obviously, like I would hope, Ron Wyden, who is a Democrat, is the best on this and has all the best policies on it. So I would love to put Ron Wyden in charge of tech policy if we had some sort of Democratic administration.
Okay. Random final question, because people keep bringing this in the chat. Do you support the European digital identity thing?
No, I think what they're talking, digital ID. Yeah. No, I think that is kind of exactly what we're talking about in terms of removing anonymity from the internet. And I think Europe can have good ideas, but overall, Europe has been very dystopian in terms of how they've sought to remove privacy online. So I mean, it depends also what country in Europe. Like France and Germany have been Germany has not been going down a great path. The UK is the worst. And I don't know if they're technically in Europe. I know they left the European Union, but the UK passed the Online Safety Act which is not mandatory identity verification, but is a sort of similar to COSA. They passed that in 2023. That went into effect last year. And since it's gone into effect, we've seen devastating outcomes. Basically, it's being used to censor or remove content that is police violence videos.
Isn't the point of the digital ID thing that the fact that you would allow, like, only the government would have access to all of your information and credentials?
No, the government, no, because the point is if you're creating these massive amounts of data, and it's inevitable that other people will have access to it. And the government itself is the way that it's playing out, for instance, the proposed way that it's going to happen in America and Europe and other countries is through third-party vendors. So like companies like Persona, which are these like digital ID companies.
Okay.
Harvest a vast amount of your data. We don't want to create that data on anyone. Frankly, we shouldn't have that data. We should be able to access the web anonymously, consume information anonymously. That's really important for whistleblowers, journalists, activists, political people that are engaged in political speech. I'm all for transparency, data privacy, like lots of other protections, but no, we don't want digital ID.
Gotcha.
That would be bad for civil rights.
All right.
But that data privacy we do want. And I do think people should go to badinternetbills.com. Badinternetbills.com is by Fight for the Future, which is a civil abuse left-wing sort of digital rights organization. They have all the info. If you go to badinternetbills.com, they have all the info on all these laws. You can get information. You can learn what you can sort of reach out to your lawmakers, and that is going to give you a lot of really good information on how to fight these laws. And I know you don't think they're really important, but they are really, really important. And we've killed COSA before. We've stopped these laws before, and I think we can stop them again. In the meantime, and then you know what? Maybe when we have Democrat Congress, Democrat whatever, and hopefully the Democrats will be anti-surveillance by then, we can proactively pass privacy legislation.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, hey, thank you for the contentious conversation. Stay safe. Have fun.
At least I got my 10-minute spiel about digital rights in at the end. So
you did
it was
indeed.
all
Wait,
worth
okay.
it.
One final spicy question. Do you acknowledge
What?
that Hassan was shocking his dog to keep it in place on stream the entire time? Or are you a shock collar denier?
I've seen the collar and it was not a shock collar,
Ooh, major L.
but I think he loves Kaya and he treats Kaya very well. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people in LA don't treat their dogs well, but I know this is going to divide the internet for all time. So I will just remain neutral on it.
Well, have
but
fun.
everybody go to badinternetbills.com. That's the most important thing. Don't worry about Hassan. Go to badinternetbills.com. And Hassan has not promoted badinternetbills.com yet. So maybe you can get, why don't you go be the better one and promote badinternetbills.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have fun. Thanks for the chat.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Jesus. Christ. All right. Sorry, my next 2 days are kind of busy. Stay mad. Beaker video game, Werewolf, Microscope, Mafia Warehouse, Fishbowl Animal, Spotlight Company, Gonzo, Wearable, E Street Band, Hot Seat, Wherefore, and Fozzie. Wearable? Holy shit. Video game Werewolf Microscope. Fozzie. This is a nickname of like a singer, dancer. Somebody for the Fozzie. The Fozzie? Am I making this up? Associated with Italian shit? Warehouse company East. I don't know what that is. Not even close. Okay. Things in a lab? Are things associated with like a beaker, warehouse, microscope? Animal fishbowl. Oh my god. Fishbowl. Company Gonzo. I don't know what the fuck a gonzo is. In the hot seat. Under the spotlight. Under a microscope. Oh, this is it. Fishbowl warehouse. Werewolf. In a fishbowl? Is that a phrase I've heard before? Metaphors for public screening. Oh my god. Where? Boom. Okay. A beaker. E Street Band. I don't know what the fuck this is. Company. Mafia. Video game. Beaker. I don't know. I don't even know. Fuck. Animal. Are these the names of like Sesame Street characters? Oh my fucking god. They feature a boss. E Street Band? I don't know what the fuck that means. Who's the boss of Tetris? Mafia boss, company boss. Okay. Well. Okay. Be careful. Stay safe. Don't die. I love you.